And just a heads up, we're going to be recording this presentation just so everyone's aware.
All right. Can you guys hear me okay?
Can. Great. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us on this morning. We always, are so grateful for our opportunity to share our story and what we do at TAKEheart Association. But before I get into who I am, I want to know a little bit more about who you all are. So we're going to do a quick icebreaker, and it kind of just helps my nerves kind of get relaxed a little bit because I'm always nervous. I don't know if anybody else, that might be just me. I'm always nervous before I speak, even though I've said this 1,000 times. But anywho, I got a quick question for you guys. And I don't know if everybody can turn their mics on, but if we can be respectful not to speak over each other, but still engage, that would be great. So we're talking about relationships. So I thought this icebreaker would be great. If you could be a part of a cheeseburger, we've all had them, not us that's eating right now, I know, but we all had a cheeseburger at least once in our lifetime. But if you could be a part of a cheeseburger, which part would you be and why? If you could be a part of a cheeseburger, if we could just maybe put it in the chat, that might be easier. Just type in the chat which part of the cheeseburger you would be and why.
Put a timer on it.
I'll give y'all just like 30 seconds. That should be, I don't know if y'all got them quick typing fingers like me.
You're not that quick.
I'm not that quick. Okay. My husband says I'm not that quick. I'm trying to get to the chat so I can see people's answers. Okay. I like that. Somebody said I'm the bread because I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger too. I love hugging. It's always so awkward because people give you your hand, reach their hand out at me, and I'm like, no, girl, just bring it on in. Give me a hug.
So I love the carbs.
Ooh, that is me. I am a snacker late at night. I love carbs. Let's see. Bun, keep it all together, nice and warm. Pickles, they're my favorite part. Tell us why pickles are your favorite part. Bread because I'm gluten-free. Okay.
I'm cheesy at times.
That's this guy right here, y'all. He's cheesy. The meat.
There it is, the meat, because it's the reason for the burger.
Because it's the reason for the burgers. Yes, I like the meat. Okay. Tomatoes because I would feel guilty choosing something else. Okay, I'm gonna take it. Maybe you're that person is a vegan, maybe, or vegetarian. Veggie burgers, okay. Yeah. Veggie burgers are okay. The crunchy, the salt, ooh, that good mixture. Good. Thank y'all all for joining in. And I bet if we continue, like for me, I think I'm probably the cheese, and I know cheese is my guilty pleasure. I'm trying to do better. Don't judge me. I think just because it just gives it that extra something, that extra spice of life. Because to me, there is not a cheeseburger wouldn't be a cheeseburger if it didn't have the cheese. It just gives it that extra kick. And that's what I like to do. Give things that extra kick.
I order cheeseburger with no cheese all the time.
Because you're weird. No, I'm just never mind that, guys. But see, this simple exercise is what brings, connects us. It's very easy for me to get to know you out of each one of these. Like the bread, I'm a hugger. So find what's common with us instead of what's different between us. If we dare to share, we'll find those common things instead of those different things. So as the slide shows you, I'm a 3-time heart attack survivor. My story started in 2013, November 2013. I remember telling my husband, hey, my left arm is going numb and my neck is bothering me. I must have did too much in the gym, turned up a little bit too much in the gym. And he was like, no, honey, I doubt if that's the case. So we started, like most people, just started to self-diagnose. Maybe you sleep on that left side too much, or maybe you did do something in the gym. And because we wasn't thinking anything was wrong with me, because I go to the doctor every year. I'm a previous military, so we were made to go often. So it just became a habit for me to always go to the doctor each and every year. And so when that happened, I was like, had no clue. And then December rolls around right before Christmas. And I remember telling my sister, hey, my feet is turning dark. And she said, you need to get to the doctor. And I said, well, I have my physical checkup coming in January. So I'll just wait, not knowing then that I was on this clock. And I always tell people this tick tock, because at that time I didn't realize seconds mattered. I didn't realize that my life was on the line. All I was thinking was, my left arm's going numb and my neck is bothering, my feet is dark. It must just be, something going on. But you couldn't have never told me it was my heart. So I go to the doctor in January, end of January, and I say, hey doc, my left arm's going numb and my neck is bothering me. And she said, well, maybe you're just stressed out. And I said, yeah, maybe I am, because I could be, right. We wear plenty of capes, plenty of hats as women. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a best friend, I'm a daughter. At that time I was working with kids with behavior issues. So stress could be that. I was going to school, I believe, at that time to finish my master's, and my son was graduating from high school. So yeah, a lot of stressful things was taking place at that time. But she never said it could be my heart or anything like that. It was a very relaxed conversation. You're probably just stressed. You need to do something to try to minimize that. And so that's the thought process I had when I left the doctor's office. That every time my left arm would go numb or my neck would start to bother me, I said, oh, I need to go do something to relieve this stress, or I must be stressed out. And that was my thought process, never thinking to go back. And that was on me. From January to April, God kept me. April 10th, I woke up and my left arm was numb. My neck was bothering me. I had hot flashes. I felt like I needed to vomit. My chest felt like a pill was stuck. And I know you guys know the signs, the signs and symptoms of a heart attack, but I'm talking about somebody that is thin, honey, think I got it going on. I'm going to the doctor. As far as I know, I'm doing everything I know to do correctly. As far as my health is concerned, my husband is a health nut. So not exercising in this house cannot happen. And not eating right cannot happen in this household. So anyway, April, we went to the emergency room, and just like I'm talking to you now is how I'm talking to them. Hey, all these crazy things happen. So they do an EKG. They couldn't find anything. They do a lot of other blood work. They couldn't find anything. And I remember the young doctor coming in saying to me, well, you're too young to be having a heart attack. And I was like, heck yeah, I'm too young to be having a heart attack. What are you talking about? And that's kind of how the conversation went. And I had to follow up with my primary care doctor, is what I was told to do. And so I left there at it was probably around 6 a.m. or I don't know. It was early in the morning. I went on to work like we do. We just get back to business. I went on to work, and by 9 o'clock in my classroom, it was happening again. I was on my knees and I was telling my assistant, hey, it's happening again. And she was like, what's happening? I was like, I don't know. My body, these episodes, that's what I began to even call them. I'm having this episode. It just comes and it goes. And so my students were there, and she runs out to go call 911. By the time the nurse and the emergency crew arrive, I'm feeling fine. I'm sitting in my chair. I'm a little weaker this time, but hey, I'm feeling fine. I'm feeling good. It becomes my choice if I want to go to the ER. I wasn't going to go. My assistant called my husband and he made me go. That's another story. He's always making me do something, but he made me go. And so I went ahead and went, and a cardiologist comes out and she says, she's talking to me, and I asked her, like, why am I seeing you? She said, because the symptoms you have described as if you had a heart attack, because they were the exact same symptoms the next day. And I was like, girl, I'm not having a heart attack. Something's going on, but I just did not believe it was a heart attack. Like, why? I don't have a high blood pressure. I don't have cholesterol issues, none of those things. So I was really confused. And she said, well, we have no reason to keep you. This was her words. And I said, well, something's wrong. So please keep me so we can see that if it happens again, I'll be at the hospital. That was my thought process, but I didn't know I was wishing for a heart attack to happen, or whatever this is. I just needed it to happen. So anyway, me and her go back and forth for a little bit. And at that time, I'm not thinking that I'm advocating for myself. I just know something's wrong and I want to know what it is. That's all my thought process is. And so she said, well, everything is showing fine, but she said, let me do the heart enzyme test. So they do that. And she said, it's slightly elevated, and it's still not enough reason for us to keep you. I said, but it's elevated and it's off. So please keep me. So they kept me overnight, and they do the test 2 more times. And it comes back normal. And so I'm released at 11 o'clock on April 12th. Go home and I start cleaning my shower out, y'all. I'm just going to keep it real. I started cleaning up and visiting with friends as they come and go. My husband's in the kitchen cooking. And as I'm cleaning at the bottom of my shower, I crawl into the bedroom to tell him it's happening again. And he said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I just want to get up in the bed and take a nap. Not knowing then, had I did that, I would have lost my life. My husband tried to get me up and he said, well, you don't get to die on me today. I'm going to get you to the emergency room. So we get to the emergency room, y'all. We stop and got gas. This is just how much we're not thinking this. My life is on the line. We didn't stop and got gas. And it's just a whole bunch going on. And no, we didn't call 911. Didn't think to do that. We just got to the hospital. So got there. I was still in crisis this time. The EKG showed and all the other stuff that they do showed up. And I ended up having a massive heart attack going into sudden death with 99% blockage. And I'm here to tell the story today. So if you could hear all the things that the healthcare system could have done for me and all the things that I as a survivor could have advocated for better. But you know, hindsight is 50-50. So all we do is try to move forward and change the narrative. Did I say that right?
No, it's 2020.
Oh, 2020. Hindsight is 2020. I always say 50-50. I'm always messing up something. But yes, we just try to go forward and change that. Next slide, please. Am I over the slides? Somebody else. I don't know if I'm on this now. Oh, here we are. So I know that you guys have been talking challenges to care and barriers to care and looking at it through different lenses. And we know that this conversation has been had so many times for years and still no change. And so we like to call ourselves gap fillers at Black Heart Association. We don't just talk about it, we are about it. We are the change that we want to see in our communities. We're gap fillers. That's what we do. So we wanted to lend our voice and lend our hand on what we do well at Black Heart, and that's relationship building. And so this is one of the things that we know is a serious issue in the healthcare system is the language barrier. Then we have trust issues, and then we have empathy issues. And we're going to talk more about what's the solution to that and how we can best change the narrative in regards to relationship. I told my husband, it's like a bad marriage. It's a really bad marriage going on here, y'all. And it's looking like divorce is about to, be a real thing here happening soon. If we don't, and divorce has already happened and with so many people in a lot of ways as it relates to the healthcare system. And so we're trying to rebuild our marriage. We're going to go to therapy and do a little building up in these areas and show you guys how to do that effectively, efficiently, and quickly. I think efficiently and quickly is about the same thing. But yes, we'll show you guys how to do that. So next screen, please.
Okay, I think it's my time to speak now.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was interesting that she did liken this relationship to a bad marriage because as we all know, in any type of relationship, you're gonna have some issues. And the first step to fixing those issues is acknowledging that there are issues, and then trying to come up with solutions to fix those. So here we're talking about accessing care. And like I was explaining with my wife, there's access to, and then there's accessing. So having access to it doesn't necessarily mean that I feel like I belong. So here we're kind of talking about what are the things that prevent us from accessing what we have access to. So we came up with this acronym. We adopted this acronym SHOES, like shoes that you wear on your feet. And I thought that was pretty fitting. My wife came up with it. I got to give her credit. I thought it was kind of fitting because one, for us to be effective, we have to be willing to walk in someone else's shoes. If we're going to deliver a high level of service, a high level of building trust, and all of those things that come along with having a good experience in any type of experience, we got to be able to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. And also, if we want to deliver that high level of care, we have to be willing to walk with them through that process. Not, hey, this is what we're going to do, and then pass them off. We have to be willing to, if it's, it kind of goes back to equity over equality. If I have to hold your hand from point A to point Z, then that's what I'm going to do. If I feel like I can kind of back away at point C, then that's what we'll do as well. But we have to be able to pick and choose and figure out when it's appropriate and be willing to walk all the way through it with them. So let's kind of run through this, the acronym. So the S, we came up with self-assess, and that's kind of going toward that you get one chance to make a good first impression. So before I interact with anyone, I'm going to do a self-check. Where am I emotionally? Where am I psychologically? Am I ready to deal with this person? Am I in a good headspace? Am I in a good emotional space? And being able to figure out where you are before ever interacting with that individual, because life happens. We all have our own things going on, but we still have to be mindful and have to be willing to uh, put ourselves to the back, because we're in a service industry. We serve people, and in order to do that, we got to kind of step back. No matter what we got going on, if we're going to do it, we got to step back and do it.
Let me chime in here because we hear a lot about burnout in the healthcare system, just burnout across the whole world at this point, and COVID revealed a lot of that to us. But this is a good first step, like he said. Acknowledge that you are burnt out, and coming into that space with those emotions, not necessarily leave them at the door, but bring the authentic you with you when you come into these spaces. So if I'm having this mental, emotional, physical heck of a day before I go into this room, it's okay to maybe step in this room and say, can you just give me 1 second to gather myself? And I promise I'll come back and service you correctly. But it's okay to take that moment to say, I'm not okay. We have to do that in every space. Setting up healthy boundaries for ourselves is key. I don't care where we are. You have to set up those healthy boundaries. And that's a self-assess before you go into the room to say, hey, maybe somebody else should do this for me, or I just need a second to take a couple of deep breaths before I go in.
Kind of goes back to, we always talk about people before patients. So one thing about interacting with someone on a people before patient basis is letting them, like she said, be vulnerable and letting them meet you, not you as the provider, but you as a human being. Before we even get into that, being willing to say, hey, this is who I am. Now let's move forward, because now you've kind of given me a glimpse into who you are. So that there in itself kind of cools the temperature a little bit and kind of eases the situation for me as the patient. Oh, okay. Yeah. He or she is no different from me. They got stuff going on. So now we can kind of move on from there. The H is for hearing, and hear as in being present. So we want to make sure that we are, because it's so easy to get just kind of in a routine, kind of mechanical and methodical. It's, but we got to be able to be present and be engaged. That's actively listening to the individual that we're interacting with, and also being able to communicate back to them what you're hearing them say, so that they do know, okay, this person is here with me. They're not in the previous room or looking for the next room. They're here with me right now. And that goes a long way when dealing with individuals, letting them know that, hey, the most important person in this building right now is the person in front of me, and that's you. That definitely gives a good feeling.
I agree with that. And I think because we are men and women and we do hear and process so differently, it just takes a second to repeat back what you think the person is saying. Yeah. And that's putting that human side back in it, because I am your client before I'm your patient. That is so key for us at Blackheart. When we're serving our people, we realize that they don't have to allow us to screen them at all, even though it's free. They're our client before they become the person that we want to screen. We're trying to make them our client, make them a part of our family. So then when they speak of Blackheart, when we're not in the room, that they can speak positive things, because we have embraced them from the minute they walk up to our bus. Hey girl, how was your girl? Look at you, you look good. Just something very simple to break the ice with them. And it's easy as a compliment. It's just that easy.
So moving on to the O, observe. And here is where, as we're interacting with the patient or with the person, that we are making sure that we're tuned into the nonverbal communication that we're receiving from them, that nonverbal feedback. Okay, is this person with me? Are they following me? Is there some anxiety there, some apprehensions there? And then being willing to stop and say, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there's some apprehension here. And then allowing them to speak to that. Hey, what kind of apprehensions are you having? What kind of anxiety are you having about today's visit? So allowing them to share and be vulnerable and open up about those trust issues that we talked about, the any past experiences that has created any type of negative feeling surrounding the healthcare field, surrounding doctors' offices, or whatever it may
White
be.
coat syndrome.
Yeah, the white coat syndrome. So, but just being tuned in enough to that individual that I can pick up on any nonverbal communication that they may have that could cause a negative effect on this interaction that we're trying to have.
I like to say, read the room. Y'all heard of that saying, right? Read the room. If the patient is not even looking at you, or tears are falling, you know, something's going on, and it's okay to take that pause. If they have an attitude, why? You know, why is she presenting with an attitude? Why is she in tears? Why is she not even giving me eye contact? Or why is she clenching the covers? Why is her blood pressure going up because I stepped in the room? Just simple questions to get them back to knowing that you care enough to stop and pause and say, hey, it's going to be okay. And that touch too, you know, or grabbing the hand. And I don't know what the rules are in y'all's thing, but if a doctor comes near me and he says, hey, you know, it's going to be okay. We got you. I'm okay. I feel good. I feel a little bit better. I can maybe shake what I'm going through in that second. So just read the room. Read the room, especially in our culture. Read the room. Our faces will tell you a lot before we even speak. So just be mindful of that.
Yeah. You want to take that one?
No, you go ahead. You're doing it.
But just to hang my hat on that one for a second, because I've been in public health in a whole nother sector before TAKEheart, and I was one of the oldest in the facility, first of all. So they already labeled me the old man, and I move slow and all of these things. But I just come from a culture and a time where we take care of each other. If that takes a little bit longer, then that's what it's going to be, especially when you're talking about reading the room. If I walk into a room to screen someone or give results to someone and they're struggling in that moment, then the last thing I'm going to do is move on to the next part of the process. No, we're going to stay right here until we figure this thing out and we kind of ease the anxiety here. So just being willing to take an extra minute or two, you know, to address those nonverbal communications or those nonverbal cues that you're picking up on can go a long, long way. Again, the most important patient is the one that's sitting right in front of me. So if it takes a few more minutes, it takes a few more minutes. And being willing to, when I move on to the next one, being able to communicate that as well. Hey, I apologize for the wait, blah, blah, blah. You know, because now I've started that interaction on a good note as well. And then we move on to empathy. I'm sure everyone knows this word, empathy. Being able to, again, walk in someone else's shoes, being able to understand what they're going through or where they're coming from to some extent. Also, explanation is a huge part of being empathetic. And by that, we mean communicating at their level, meeting them where they are, talking to them in a language that they can understand, and asking them, are you following me? Tell me, you know, make them talk back to you. Kind of like I said, we want to talk to them and be present and be able to communicate back to them what they're saying to us, then have them communicate back to us what we're communicating to them so that we can kind of dispel any misunderstandings, make sure that we're on the same page before we move forward. You know, communication is a two-way street, and being able to communicate with them on a level that they understand, not talking over them, because that can cause some trust and mistrust issues in itself, but just speaking their language in a sense, so that they're comfortable and they do comprehend what we're talking about.
Can I say something? That part is so huge. And I'm speaking from a patient perspective at this point. That part is so, if you're telling me the neurological disproportionate, I don't know, I'm making up words. But if you're telling me something, so the micro, this and the that, and at that time, my mind is on the fact that I just had a crisis happen in my life. And you're talking to me about stuff I have no idea what the heck you're talking about. Like if someone says, you had blockage. Well, what I don't even know what that means at this point. All I know is I had a massive heart attack, and now you're telling me I've had 3 of these things, and I've been sent home twice, and I'm back here and to trust you guys one more time to try to tell me what's wrong with me, and you're talking up here. I'm tuned out. I'm not listening to you. At this point, I just want to know if I'm living or am I dying. That's it.
And when can I go home?
And when can I go home? Because remember, everybody wants to go home that's in the hospital. That's all they want, is to go home and be able to say that I can have some kind of normality, some kind of normal life, and that I'm going to be able to see my children or my husband, or I'm going to be okay. That's it. So please remember to talk in layman's terms. Please remember to dial back. I know you're educated and I honor you as a doctor, I do. But at the end of the day, none of that really matters to me until you have made me feel like I'm okay.
Good, babe.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got lost in, it just does something to me when you talk.
Stay focused.
And the last one, self-assess, is basically the S is start all over again.
Yeah.
When you leave that room, when you leave that interaction, do a quick self-assess. How did I feel like that went? What were the things that I could have done better? What are the things that, I feel like I did well, and build upon those things. And then you just repeat that process all over again and constantly fine-tuning and, revamping and reassessing and fixing the things that you feel like needed fixing, and then rocking with the things that you felt like you did well.
Exactly. That sums it up. And I want to go back to execute the plan of action, because this is where we lose a lot of the patients, where they don't return for services, or if they're going to pick you as their doctor when they leave there, and all those great things. We give so much to patients during a time of crisis. Go to cardiac rehab, take this medicine, do this, you can't eat that, you got to do it. It's so much given to us on our way home. And remember, I said all we want to do is get home. That's it. And so for us, if that's talking to a loved one, if I have a loved one there that you can communicate with, that's a better option, because that person is not emotional. That person is calm. Well, in some cases,
I was pretty emotional.
Pretty emotional. Find somebody that is calm, because it's such a experience for everybody involved. So just making sure that on the day that we're going home, to not throw the kitchen sink. Maybe give it to us in pieces. Make sure we're okay enough to receive what you're saying. So that's going back to reading the room. So make sure you do that check-in with the patient. Hey, I got a lot of information to give you. Are you in a place to receive it? How do you want us to receive it? Do you want me to give it to you in little chunks, or you want to give it to y'all at one time? So engaging them again and what the process is better than, hey, we're about to go over your insurance. We're about to go over all this stuff. And I know you guys have to do that, but figuring out the best way, and it might not be in chunks, but in pieces.
And even asking the patient, hey, is there a loved one that you feel more comfortable that we have this conversation with at this moment? Because I have a lot of information to give. Is there someone that you trust me to give it to that can give it to you when you're ready to receive it?
Any questions for us? I know we gave a lot. That felt like a lot. That was a lot, right, y'all?
It was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for sharing this wonderful acronym, because I think it's perfect. I mean, I love the fact that, we need to think about what it's like to walk in someone else's shoes. So I think this was fabulous. And, through 3 cohorts of TAKEheart hospitals, we've spoken about a lot of barriers. Mm-hmm. Many of them relate to financial barriers, whether it be underinsured or uninsured. There are transportation barriers. There are especially barriers for women who, they're the leaders of their family, and it's hard for them to put themselves first when they know that others need them, including kids and everything like that. And my takeaway out of all of this is a barrier that we really just haven't focused enough on. And it relates to communication and trust. And if you could just spend a few minutes just kind of giving a little bit of background, like why do you feel that the African American community has trust issues with providers, and what are, besides the strategies that you provide, what are some other ways to kind of just overcome those trust issues? Because we talk about how to best engage individuals in cardiac rehab, but if you walk in the door, visiting a patient who's just had a heart attack, and right away you're taking the wrong approach, it sounds like you've already lost. Forget it. Even if the individual doesn't have any of the other barriers that I just mentioned, if you haven't established trust and you haven't taken the right approach, you're already behind.
You're already behind. Great question. For one, we already know that it needs to be more of people of color in these spaces. Because for one, to be honest, if I walk into a space and it's all one race of people, I'm already like, there's nobody in here that looks like me. There's nobody here that can relate to me and what I'm going through on a personal level, what I've gone through in my life, as far as all the struggles we face as Black people. So already I'm in this space like, okay, can I trust these individuals if nobody in here looks like me? Can I have a conversation with them in layman's terms if they don't know what I've personally struggled with? So the first solution I would say is your body, your face, your chemistry, your energy. Because for me, a simple smile can change a whole lot of things. But if you've had a bad day and this is how you looking when I walk in, I'm already like, I don't know about this experience. I've already paused for a second in my head. But more representation needs to happen in these spaces. We know that's the first line of action. And then secondly, checking yourself before you wreck the whole patient experience. It just goes back to that self-assessment. Checking yourself, having that moment with yourself. Somebody's coming into your space, and we say this all the time when we're at a restaurant and we get a bad waiter or waitress, and the first thing we'll say, well, we didn't ask, geez, we didn't apply to work here, you did, so that's kind of like our thing. Like, don't do something you don't love if you can't do it honestly, wholeheartedly, and pure of heart, because that matters. So for us, we know that once we have a bad experience in the healthcare system, you probably won't get us back. We see people like that all the time on our unit. Oh, I'm so happy. I haven't had this done in 40 years, 20 years, because of an experience they had in healthcare 20 years ago, 40 years ago. Well, you know what? That's no longer acceptable. Every person, for me, you took the pledge to take care of me. I expect you to live up to that pledge. Don't take a vow that you can't keep. So I just think for Black people, it's just a lack of seeing us in the space. We all know the stories that we hear about the healthcare system. And so it's up to the people in the healthcare system. It goes to that bad marriage again, to show me something different when I walk into that space. Show me that you care enough to gauge and say, hey, before I do anything, how's your day been? How have you doing? How's your family? My cardiologist is really good at this. I met him in a crisis, but I'm faithful to go back to him. You know why? Because every time I go into his office, he's going to ask me, how your son doing? How your daughter doing? How's your mother? He has made it a point to know my entire family. And I'm sure he has thousands of patients, but he makes it a point. Just went to the dentist office. I hadn't met the doctor yet, but the hygienist, she asked me 1,000 questions. When the doctor came in, guess what she did? She introduced me to the doctor. She said, hey, this is Tara Robinson. She's the founder of Black Heart Association. She has 3 heart attacks. She has 2. She knew all of it and gave it to the doctor.
And that's what I want to say about that, the solution. Control what we can't control, right? From a visual standpoint, we can have, you know, culturally connected visuals and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as who we are as people, we control what we control. If I'm a non-African American, I'm going to be a non-African American
Yeah.
any room I walk into. But I do have to walk in with a people first mentality. This person that I'm walking in to visit with may have had a heart attack, may have just had emergency surgery, but none of that is at the forefront of what I'm leading with. I'm going to lead with my heart. I'm going to lead with me walking in to talk to another person on a genuine, authentic level. How are we doing today?
Mm-hmm.
Man, you're probably feeling, you know what I'm saying? You're probably feeling pretty bad. You've gone through a lot. We haven't even gotten to the chart. We haven't gotten to the medication, the instructions for discharge, any of that. I'm talking to you, heart to heart. And that means the world to, especially us as African Americans. We are loving people and we love to be loved. So before you take care of me, let me know you care about me. You know, everybody heard the saying, I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care. So when you walk into the room, let them know first and foremost, I care about you. I'm concerned about you. And I want to take good care of you. So that's to me, that's the solution. Operating from the heart. Everything flows through the heart, the good and bad experiences. So make sure that anytime I have someone else's heart in my hand, no pun intended, anytime I have someone else's heart in my hand, that I'm going to take care of their heart, emotionally, psychologically, and then medically.
Thank you for sharing that. I just want to highlight that there's a question in the chat that I'm sure everybody would really love to hear about, which was talk about your cardiac rehab experience.
So let's talk about it. So this is one of the gap fillers Black Heart Association is working on because I believe in the importance of cardiac rehab. So cardiac rehab was not just about the physical stuff for me. Although I needed it because I couldn't walk from the bed to the bathroom. So I needed cardiac rehab to get me jumpstart me back to my fitness journey because I was so scared I was going to break. And so cardiac rehab was that mental help I need. Even though I didn't see a mental professional, the nurse was great. The doctors who were there were great. I was looking at those pictures just the other day of me in cardiac rehab. So never heard of cardiac rehab until I had my heart attacks. Went there for 6 weeks strong. I had to go during my work hours. That part was stressful, I will have to admit, to have to be somewhere during your work hours. That's one of the things Black Heart hopes to fix. The staff was great. I remember the staff being excellent. Yeah. They were great at explaining. They were great at welcoming me. Because if I tell you I was scared to death, I really was. I just thought I was going to have a repeat heart attack. And so that was really what pushed me to cardiac rehab was I didn't want to repeat what I'd just been through. And so my doctor did a great job of explaining why I needed cardiac rehab and what had happened to my heart and why it was important that I go. So when I went there, they had me do my stretches. They had me do, what's my
weights?
Yeah, my little weights. Yeah. And I did a lot of cardio. And the cardio was a big part for me because when my heart would get too high, my jawline would still go numb. So we were still working through those things and getting me past those fears of it's okay to stop because I'm an overachiever. And so stopping when my heart rate was too high. So they did a great job of explaining why I shouldn't overexert myself. And it's okay to feel like a failure during this process because I'm very strong-willed. And so that was very hard for me. But through cardiac rehab is where I learned that I wasn't going to break, that I was okay, and that this was the best jump start to get me where I needed to go moving forward. And so for me, it was more of that mental piece that I needed, especially dying, going to heaven, coming back here, and going through all the other emotions that I was having or had experienced. So this was cardiac rehab was my saving grace. And when my stent blocked, I was shocked that they didn't send me back through cardiac rehab, because I felt I needed it again, because my heart, I was just as out of breath and all of that. So it was interesting to see how let me go back. When my stent blocked is when I found out that everybody didn't get cardiac rehab. I was like shocked. Oh my goodness, I'm not going back to cardiac rehab. I want it. So I was shocked. That's when I learned it's like I had to go through everything that I advise patients on now in order to give them best information. So cardiac rehab worked wonders for me. So I'm an advocate for it.
Someone asked, what did you like the most? I'm going to answer that one. Other than the fact that it helped build her confidence enough, because we had already, and like she said, I've been in health and fitness for over 15 years. So I had already been preaching a lot of this stuff to her and kind of introducing her to it. So you take someone who doesn't really love fitness, and now they experienced a heart attack, and now they need fitness. It's like, oh my God. So I think it was going through cardiac rehab where she built the confidence to continue on after her heart was where it needed to be. And I do like the fact that the staff was great, and there were a couple of sessions where I joined her, and I felt like that was pretty cool that they allowed me on the floor, on the elliptical next to her, on the the treadmill, the resistance training. They kind of let me hang out with her to kind of be that calm, in an anxious environment for her. Like, hey, she's familiar with you, going out there with her. And I thought that was the coolest little deal, because they didn't have to do that, So that's one of those pieces where I can say, okay, they put the person in front of the patient.
So if I could ask a follow-up question, Frederick and Tara, you said that the staff were great. Can you, and we've spoken a lot about trust and communication. Can you speak to, their particular approach that resonated with you and really encouraged you to engage and bring up your strength and everything that you needed to do to be successful in cardiac rehab?
Yes, I think I had an older gentleman. I had a older nurse, and these were older people that I had. The one young guy was the fitness person, and so I think for me is that I'm a down to earth person. I don't care how many titles you have. I don't care how many titles I have. I put all that down when I'm meeting people, and that's kind of what the vibe I got from them. Like, I didn't know if they were PhD, MDD, DDD, whatever, all this is. I just knew them to be very relational, and that might be the counselor in me. So they were smiling when I came in. Hey, call me by my first name. It wasn't Miss Robinson. That just sounds so uptight. And, it was a first name basis. I called them by their first names. They were interested in my day. How were the kids at school? How are you feeling? And so it was just a lot of conversations. If I was on the elliptical, they come by, we crack jokes and just have a good time. It wasn't so uptight, even though it was such a serious matter. And so I think for me, just that very down to earth, people to people, person to person, and all of them, none of them were my race, but I felt very at home with them, as if I was with some cousins taking care of myself. That's what I felt like. And I think that's so important as we talk about walking in each other's shoes, that we know we see each other's color. We're not blind, but at the end of the day, just treating me like I'm your mother or your sister or your auntie or somebody, that works each and every time.
Yeah. It was very the temperature in the room was always very cool, and it was a very light environment. It wasn't this heaviness when you walk through the door, like, hey, we got patient 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming in today at 2. We're gonna have her do 20 minutes of low impact cardio. It was like, hey, you got 10 minutes on the elliptical, and then we're gonna move you to something else. We're gonna watch you closely.
If you need us,
we're right there. It was very, like she said, very relational.
Yeah.
That was the key. you know, it's almost as if you were just going to the gym. You didn't even realize you were going through cardiac rehab.
That.
Hey, we're just going to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they made it feel. And that was pretty cool.
Great, thanks. I'd like to encourage anyone to pose a question to Tara or Frederick. Have you experienced a challenging situation that possibly you could have taken a different approach, or you know, these guys are the experts. They have such passion for serving their community, and feel free to pick their brain.
Not everybody at once.
Please, yes.
This is Wendy from UCSD. I just had I must have missed your introduction, but I just wanted to know more about what TAKEheart does, and are you guys going to see patients in the hospital and talking with them, or can you tell me more about what the organization does?
Great question. Very excited. I'll say, okay, so right now, TAKEheart Association, we're a mobile, we have a mobile unit. And right now, every single weekend, we're out in the community around the DFW area. We can handle all of Texas. All of Texas invites us to come and service them. We screen anything from mental health all the way to genetic testing. So that's what we do now on the bus. We want our people, we want everybody. We see everybody on the bus, but we're usually in Black communities. So if you want to see us, come to a community near you. And so with that, our next thing going into what your question is with cardiac rehab is our hopes is to partner with hospitals and to provide transportation to first of all, to figure out why they're not accessing cardiac rehab. Why are you getting the no's in the hospital? I probably know why, because it's just a little bit too much, y'all. We got to figure out a better way to go. Yeah, because I'm going to tell you, I ain't coming to that. I think I said that in the hospital. I'm not going to cardiac rehab. I just want out. But I know that we know that you guys are getting those at the time, you know, that these things are happening. And so we want to be the voice for that, to go in and have these conversations and talk to, you know, why are you saying no? Maybe we'll get a better response and hopefully get that to a yes for you guys. That's one of the things that we're working on doing now. And then transportation, we know is a serious issue. So we want to provide transportation at no cost to those people to get them back to the hospital so that you can service them. And so that's another 2. 3, what we're going to do is service them. We know that another reason why you get the no, and you might get a lot of pushback when they get there because they're not in the right mind space, is the time that cardiac service is provided. You want me to come during my work hours? Well, honey, I want my change because I got a family to take care of. So I'm going to pick money over cardiac rehab. So we want to service them after hours or at their job. That's where we come into play. Well, we'll actually service those patients. So trying to figure out how to partner with systems such as the hospital where we can bridge and fill that gap. So, but I'm a 3-time heart attack survivor. So that's how TAKEheart Association was started, through what I went through with healthcare and just learning about heart disease in a whole.
So it sounds like within the state of Texas, they call on you to bring your mobile unit. How do you advertise to the community that you are going to be around and that you are interested in meeting them where they're at that weekend?
Well, actually, the way it works, we started doing this out of the trunk of the car. And I think our first event was at our daughter used to work for this hair company.
Oh, yeah.
And they opened up a new branch and invited us out to do glucose and blood pressure. And I mean, we pulled up with a car and our machines, no tent, no table. We about to screen these people. So we pull up and, you know, we started doing what we were doing, and we would do that every single weekend. And it just it was a word of mouth type of deal. And my wife just happened to know a gentleman who's in pharmaceuticals, and they invited her out to speak and tell her story. And from there, that relationship just grew, and it became a partnership. And from there, we got the unit. And now what people do, they just go onto our website, and we have a link that says book the bus, and any date that's available that they want us to come out, they enter their information. It locks us into that date, to that location, notifies us that, hey, next weekend you're going to be at the family reunion on the south side of Texas, in south side of Fort Worth at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
It's they don't ever have to speak to us. Like, we pretty much operate on other people's agenda. It lets us know where we're going, when we got to be there, how long we're going to be there, what's the anticipated number of people to screen.
Yeah.
So that kind of helps us with our staffing needs. But and it's, I mean, we're booked every weekend. Every weekend we're booked for next year. So it's been an amazing ride, and I'm excited about where we're going. It's been a lot of fun. A lot of fun just seeing the smiles on these people's faces.
The stories.
And the stories that you hear. We had a young lady the other day at an event. She was there participating in the event, and she stood up and she said, I wasn't going to say anything. I don't have any questions, but I will say you guys screened my 15-year-old son a few months ago. And because of his results, we took him in to a specialist, found out that he can no longer play sports because he has a defect in his heart. And had you guys not screened him, we would have never even gone that route. We wouldn't have thought that that was an issue at all. And who knows? So it's those stories that you hear that we're kind of like, okay, right when you think you're not making a difference, God will send somebody to say, hey, keep going. And that's what we're doing. It's been an amazing ride, and it's just starting. So,
and we hope to have that same impact with the survivors with cardiac rehab.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's great. You should put that testimonial up on your website. Seriously, that I've got to believe that would be really impactful. Incredible.
Yeah.
How far will you all travel?
Listen, my husband always has to tell me, Tara, just calm down. Hopefully, our dreams and hopes is to be national and hopefully global one day. But right now, if you pay for us to come, we're coming. Yeah. We're coming anywhere. We want to serve all over the world is our hopes to do a little bit that we can to save the lives of people around the world. So
I think to date, our furthest distance was San Antonio.
Yes.
Yeah, San Antonio.
That's not far. Somebody needs to take us out of state.
We're working on that.
We're working on
But the thing about Texas is so big, you think you're out of state, you're still in Texas. So.
Yeah.
Well, we've got hospitals here from all different states. So
yes, any hospital out there.
Interesting request. Dana, did you have a question?
I just want to tell you both, I think you're just adorable. I love your motivation and what you do. I love your t-shirts. I don't know who came up with them, but they're super cute. You did. I did want to add that we have a couple of barriers, and I don't know that you guys, maybe you can help advocate for this. Obviously, you're not gonna be able to fix it, but in addition to everything else, there's the insurance. People just can't afford to pay for rehab. And so we have a lot of patients who they either can't start the program because they can't afford it. And I work for St. Peter's Health Partners, and they do have a financial assistance program, but not everybody qualifies for it either. So we try to qualify the patients we can, but then, there's just that middle class who can't afford anything, but doesn't qualify for anything either, So I just kind of want to plant that seed in your head too, as you're thinking about ways to expand. If anything ever comes across your table that you can partner with some sort of insurance company. CDPHP right now locally here has vowed to give cardiac rehab free to any of their members, and I think more insurance companies need to do that. So I think you guys are wonderful. I was just in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area visiting my sister, and had I known, I would have sought you out. I'm from New York.
Oh, wow.
Dana, so nice to meet you. Thank you for your compliments. Thank you for my shirt design. I'll take that. Look, a lot of the things that we want to do, Dana, send me an email, because we do try to help our patients as much as we can. Because I was that middle class, honey. So I know the struggle is real. If I got to pay a copay, I need gas. So it's always that choice we have to make, even with parking here, talking to the county hospital. our meeting about their cardiac rehab. Parking was $4. So, that's, which one am I going to choose? So I get it. Send me an email because I would love to talk more. And I realize that is a thing, because that's why we talk to everybody, uninsured all the way to the insured, because we all have issues. And we want I want to solve all the problems.
Yeah.
I do. I'm a problem solver. Email me.
But thank you for putting that out there, though, because it is, one more thing to think about as we try to provide as many resources as we can. Just hearing other perspectives and hearing other issues just kind of, keeps us on our toes and makes us go after one more thing.
I want to be respectful of time. Thank you both so much for joining us. I think, you have an incredible story. You have an incredible passion and mission to serve your community. I also wanted to remind everyone, we sent out TAKEheart reflection forms, and this is really important for us to understand what you got out of this program, and for ARC to understand possibly in a future quality improvement project, what should they do differently? So I really want to encourage everyone to fill out your forms. Thank you all for joining. I hope you found this conversation engaging and informative. And thank you both, Tara and Frederick, for sharing your story and your passion.
Thank you, guys.
I really appreciate
You guys
it.
have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.